10 problems on finding the solution set. Here we go. So, once again, see if you can do the first 3 on your own. Okay, so take a look at problem number 1. X squared minus 15x equals 0. I don't want to play this guessing game. It gets annoying. Spoiler alert, one of the answers is going to be 0, because, if you got a variable here and you plug in 0, you're going to get 0 minus 0. But for the sake of being mathematically accurate, let's do factoring and the zero product principle, because the one thing that's going to bridge the gap between Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 is factoring, factoring, factoring. You've got to know how to factor if you want to get that college degree. So let's take a look at this. X squared minus 15x. Is there a common factor I can factor out of x squared and negative 15x? Well, if there's no number in front of the x squared, I can put this imaginary 1 there. But if I divide by 1, that doesn't really do anything. So what I can look at is, do they have a variable in common? Yes, they have an x in common, so I'm going to factor out an x. So now, if I factor out an x, I'm going to do the reverse distributive property. X times what is x squared? X. X times x is x squared. X times what is negative 15x? Negative 15. So I'm going to split this up into 2 cases. One of them is already nice for you. I like that. Hey, on the left factor, x is 0. Boom. I don't have to do any algebra for that. But am I done? No, the directions say find the solution set. You would get only half credit if you put x equals 0. Show me all the solutions that make this statement true. So either x equals 0 or x minus 15 equals 0. Let's do the zero product principle. You got to give a little bit of your effort. We have to do x minus 15 equals 0. So we have to undo that minus 15 layer by adding 15 to both sides. Therefore, the 2 solutions are x, you're allowed to be 0 or 15. And because I put or, that means I want both. So let's plug it back in. 0 squared minus 15 times 0, that's 0 minus 0, which is 0. Now we do 15, x equals 15 into the problem. 15 squared minus 15 times 15, that'd be, I believe it's 225. Negative 15 times 15 is also negative 225, so that's 225 minus 225, or 0. And besides, you can always check your work with the zero product principle. 15 times 15 minus 15 is 15 times 0. Boom! Crash Bandicoot TNT. Everything gets destroyed. Let's take a look at problem number 2. What can I factor out of x? Sorry, let me keep the camera straight. X squared plus 21x equals 0. Sorry, the camera moved. It's like Hunger Games. Yeah, I can factor out an x because there's a 1 in front. If I factor out a 1, it's not exactly the most helpful thing in the world. So I'm going to factor out x. And now, reverse distributive property. X times what is x squared? X. X times what is 21x? Positive 21. Check your work by doing x times x is x squared. X times positive 21 is positive 21x. We could go back to the original problem. But we want it a multiplication problem. We want it to be a multiplication problem that equals 0 because the zero product principle states that if we have a multiplication problem where the answer is 0, split it up. We have to account for both factors that would make the whole thing get destroyed. So x plus 21 equals 0, or x equals 0. I love it. I don't have to do any work. I love it when I don't have to do any work. So now let's take a look at x plus 21 equals 0. Solve for x. If I minus 21 on both sides, I get x equals negative 21. You can check with the zero product principle. 0 times 0 plus 21, so 0 times 21, 0. Negative 21 in for x, negative 21 in for x, so we got negative 21 times negative 21 plus 21, so negative 21 plus 0, negative 21 times 0, give a little bit of your effort, and you're going to do well in Algebra 2, I guarantee it. Now, number 3 is a little bit different. There's a coefficient in front of the x squared, there's a coefficient in front of the x. So I'm going to look at the two numbers. What is the greatest common factor of 10 and 30? And what is the greatest common factor of x squared and x? So the greatest common factor of 10x squared and 30x is 10x. So now 10x times what is 10x squared? X. So 10x times x is 10x squared. 10x times what is 30x? Positive 3. 10 times 3 is 30, so 10x times 3 would be 30x. Give a little bit of your effort. And we've got the zero product principle. Because we still have a multiplication problem where the answer is 0, we have to account for both cases. Do you understand? So 10x equals 0, even if I divide both sides by 10. X is still 0. I love it. I still don't have to do any work, and I love it. So now, but that's not the only solution. If I plug in, if I separate it into x plus 3 equals 0, let's say I do x plus 3 equals 0, and I undo that layer of x. And I minus 3 on both sides, x equals negative 3. So, if I plug in 0, well, that's obvious. 10 times 0 squared plus 30 times 0, 0 plus 0 equals 0. If I plug in negative 3, I get negative 3 quantity squared, and I get x equals negative 3 here. So that'd be 10 times 9, 10 times positive 9, because if I put the negative 3 in parentheses to the square, that'd be 10 times negative 3 times negative 3. That'd be positive 90, and 30 times negative 3 would be negative 90, so that'd be 90 minus 90 equals 0. We've got, boom, TNT, and boom, TNT. Love the zero product principle. It's one of the most useful principles in all of high school math. Love it. 3x squared minus 21x equals 0. What is the GCF of 3x squared and negative 21x? So the GCF of 3 and 21 is 3. The GCF of x squared and x is x. So the GCF of 3x squared and negative 21x is 3x. And now I gotta give a little bit of my effort. So I've got 3x times what is 3x squared? So 3 times 1 is 3. X times x is x squared. So 3x times 1x, if you want to put a 1 there, that's fine. 3x times x is 3x squared. Now, 3x times what is negative 21x? Well, 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. So 3x times negative 7 is negative 21x. Now, do I have a multiplication problem that makes the answer equal to 0? Yes, I do. So now I'm going to use the zero product principle to split these up into two cases. Ah, yeah, 3x equals 0. I don't want to work. I love it when I don't have to work because 3 times what is 0? So x equals 0 is one of the solutions. I apologize for writing through the notebook paper. I'm holding the iPad in one hand. I'm getting excited about math. I love the zero product principle, as you can tell. It's one of my very favorite things to teach. So then I get x equals 0 for one of the answers. If I put x equals 0 as one of my answers and I don't put another one, I will get half credit. Or, big or, x minus 7 equals 0. And now I'm going to get x isolated by adding 7 on both sides, getting me x equals positive 7. Check your work. 3 times 0 squared minus 21 times 0 equals 0. Boom. Explosion. X equals 7. I'm going to plug in x equals 7 here and x equals 7 there. So I get 7 squared, which is 49. 3 times 49, if 3 times 50 is 150, therefore 3 times 49 would be 147. Negative 21 times 7 would be negative 147. Therefore, 147 minus 147 equals 0. Or, you know what I like better? The zero product principle. If I get 3 times 0, that's 0. 0 minus 7 is negative 7. I don't care what you are. 0 times negative 7 is still 0. If I plug in 7 in for x, I get 3 times 7 is 21. That's cute. 7 minus 7 is 0. I've got 21 times 0 is still 0. I still have kaboom. Now, you got to know your GCFs, because now we've got 14x squared plus 70x. Kind of a difficult problem if I don't know my GCF. Okay, what is the GCF of 14x squared and 70x? Well, the biggest number I can divide out of 14 and 70 is 7. So, and they both have an x in common, because x squared and x can both be divisible by x. So I'm going to factor out a 7x. So now, I want the zero product principle. I want it to be a multiplication problem. 7x times what is 14x squared? 7 times 2 is 14, so 7x times 2x would be 14x squared. Now, 7x times what is 70? That'd be 10. Ooh! Do you see what I did there? So I'm going to actually continue with what I just did. So the greatest common factor, some of you guys, so if you guys caught this before I had a chance to, the greatest common factor of 14 and 70 isn't 7. I thought it was 7. So even me, with a bachelor's degree, kind of messed up, but not really. Because if I take out a common factor, I could factor out a 2 from here as well. So the greatest common factor of 14 and 70 is in fact 14. But you know what? Here's the best part. It doesn't matter. As long as I take something out and I simplify a potential fraction. So what you could have done was 14x times x plus 5. Because, oh yeah, that makes sense, because 70 divided by 14 is 5. But let's go on with this, because I have a feeling that some of you guys did this as well. So if I break this down, 7x equals 0. I don't want to work. 7 times what is 0? Love it. X equals 0. Much better. Or, if I do 2x plus 10 equals 0, and I subtract 10 from both sides, I get 2x equals negative 10. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2, getting me x equals negative 5. I still got the same result, even if I didn't factor out the greatest common factor. So some of you guys are questioning, so you're grilling us on the greatest common factor even though it's not really necessary? It'll make your life easier in the end, because your college professor is going to demand a simplified fraction. If you left this as negative 10 over 2, I'm just going to put my hands on my hips and just look at you like, come on, man. So even though I didn't factor out the greatest common factor, I still got the same results, x equals 0 or x equals negative 5. All right, so let's do 5 more. All right. Now, 2x squared plus 15x equals 0. Man. Well, 2 and 15 don't have a greatest common factor other than 1, and that doesn't really help me. However, I do know that x squared and x have an x in common. So unfortunately, the only factor I can take out of 2x squared and 15x is just x, leaving me with x times what is 2x squared? 2x. X times what is positive 15x? Positive 15. So now, let me just make that parenthesis a little bit closer because it just looks a little bit nicer. I feel like Bob Ross. Okay. So x times the quantity of 2x plus 15 equals 0. Do I still have the zero product principle? Yeah. Don't you love it when I don't gotta work on the left side? Oh, I love it when I don't have to work. X equals 0. Oh, that's a thing of beauty. 2 times 0 squared plus 15 times 0. My problems just go away. Oh man, I gotta do algebra on this right side? Oh man, that's terrible. 2x plus 15 equals 0. Remember, big or. So now I'm going to do two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides. So now I've got 2x equals negative 15. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I'm going to get x equals, I will tolerate an improper fraction here, negative 15 over 2. Sorry if it's a little bit sloppy, negative 15 over 2. But if you're a decimal person, can 2 go into 15? Yeah, but there's going to be a decimal. So negative 15 divided by 2 is negative 7.5. Put one or the other. I'm not picky either way. If you like an improper fraction, that's fine. If you like a decimal, as long as it ends or repeats, I'm fine with that as well. But I want to see x equals 0 or, and then pick one of the following. Okay, but I need to see two distinct answers. Okay, moving on. Number 7. This one's a little bit different because the number in front of x squared, the coefficient is going to be larger here. In front of the x squared, in front of the x. But the same rules still apply. What is the greatest common factor of 18x squared and 6x? So the biggest number I can divide out of 18 and 6 is in fact 6. And the biggest number I can factor out of x squared and x is x. So the greatest common factor of 18x squared and 6x is in fact 6x. So now 6x times what is 18x squared? That'd be 3x. 6x times what is negative 6x? So 6x times negative 1 is negative 6x. Do we have the zero product principle? You bet we do. And I love it when I don't have to work. I love it when I don't have to work. 6x equals 0. 6 times what is 0? But if I only put x equals 0, I get half credit. I don't know about you guys, but half credit, if I get half credit on all of them, that's a 50%. That's an F. Or 3x minus 1 equals 0, the zero product principle. I'm going to solve for x. Oh man, I gotta work with fractions here. So if I add 1 on both sides, I get 3x equals 1. And I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 3. So x is equal to 1/3 is the other response. You can leave it as 1/3. If you really, really want a decimal, you'll get 0.333333333333333333. Please, if it's a repeating decimal, you make it 0.3 with a repeating hat on it. Remember, these are the exact same answer. So I want to see two distinct answers. I actually want to see x equals 0 or x equals 1/3 or x equals 0 or x equals 0.3 repeating. Personally, I like 1/3, makes my life a lot easier. Okay, now 3 more to go. What is the greatest common factor of 4x squared and 10x? I know that there's a negative in there, but let's just calm our nerves. What is the biggest number I can divide out of 4x squared and negative 10x? Well, I can divide 2 out of 4 and 2 out of 10. The greatest common factor is going to be 2, and x squared and x have a greatest common factor of x. So, let me make that a little bit neater. So 2x can get factored out. 2x times what is 4x squared? 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Now, 2x times what is negative 10x? Oh, sorry about that, I messed up. 2x times negative 5 would be negative 10x. See, even me with a bachelor's degree, I was looking at the negative 10x and I was going to recopy it. So always check your work. So 2x times the quantity of 2x minus 5 equals 0. Let me make that a little bit nicer, because even I strive for perfection. There we go. Can I draw a horizontal line? Oh, can I draw a horizontal line? Oh, that's the best looking horizontal line I've ever seen. So now, is this a zero product principle? Yeah, I've got a multiplication problem where the answer is 0. I'm going to account for both TNT boxes. So 2x equals 0. I love it when I don't have to work. But is that the only solution? No. I'm going to account for a second one. So I've got 2x minus 5 equals 0 as well. So now, let's do the two-step equation. I'm going to add 5 on both sides, getting me 2x equals 5. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 and get me x equals 5 halves. If you're a person who loves a decimal, fear not. I'm flexible. You can put 5 divided by 2. 2 goes into 5 2 times with 1 remaining. So that's 2.5. All I want to see is one of these two responses, along with x equals 0. All right. 2 more to go. 30x squared and 12x. What is the greatest common factor of 30x squared and 12x? Well, 30 and 12 can both be divisible by 2, 3, not 4, not 5, 6, yes, not 7, not 8, not 9. So 6x has to be the GCF. So 6x times what is 30x squared? That'd be 5x. 6x times what is positive 12x? 6x times positive 2 is positive 12x. And then, do I have the zero product principle? Oh, you bet I do. Break this down into two cases. So 6x equals 0. Oh, I love it when I don't have to work. 6x equals 0. X equals 0. I'm not done. I'm never happy. All right, take it back. I'm always happy. Well, not always, but I love easing your guys' anxiety about this. In all seriousness, I know I'm pretty strict when I say, like, you want to get a college degree, you got to factor. I just hope you guys know that I really care about your guys' success, and I'm just giving you guys the keys to the castle. If you want to get a college degree, factoring is the majority of the work. So 5x plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2 from both sides, and we're going to get 5x equals negative 2. And can I break this up even more? Sorry, can I simplify this? Divide both sides by 5. Oh man, I've got a fraction. Not the end of the world. A negative divided by a positive is still a negative, so that's still negative 2/5. Or if you are a decimal person, fear not, I've got your back. Negative 2 divided by positive 5 is negative 0.4. I want to see either a fraction or a decimal along with x equals 0 in these kinds of problems. Last one. What is the greatest common factor of 28x squared and positive 8x? I can divide by 1, not helpful. I can divide by 2, kind of helpful, but I can divide by 4. So the greatest common factor of 28x squared and positive 8x is positive 4x. And now, 4x times what is 28x squared? That'd be 7x. 4x times what is positive 8x? Positive 2. So now, I've got 4x equals 0. Love it when I don't have to work. So x equals 0, or the zero product principle states that I could split up the other case. 7x plus 2 equals 0. So now I'm going to minus 2 from both sides, getting me 7x equals negative 2. And now, divide both sides by 7. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to leave it as a fraction because I know one thing about fractions with sevenths as the denominator. It ain't pretty. So I'm going to leave it as negative 2/7. I'm going to get my red because I don't have room for a box. Complete box. So negative 2/7. I'm going to leave it at that. Because negative 2/7 goes on and on and on and on and on, please do not round. Show me the fraction in that case. That's it for today. I hope you guys had a great day.